Happy Friday, everybody. I hope that you're doing wonderful. My name is Josh. I'm here to give you your Friday FOMO Breakdown. We're going to be talking about the things that you might have missed in pop culture this past week. It's been a great week. There's a ton that's happened, so let's dive right in. The first thing that I want to talk about this week is a girl by the name of Danielle Pregoli. You may recognize her as the Cash Me Outside girl. She was a meme several months back. She was on Dr. Phil twice for just being a really disruptive teenager. Her mom was on the show as well. Well, yesterday, Thursday, she released a music video. Her new song, entitled These Hoes, spelled Heaux, was released on YouTube as a lyric video several weeks back, but then yesterday she released the music video to go along with the song. Besides the fact that she's a talentless rapper, besides the fact that the video's trashy and the lyrics are trashy and there's nothing redeemable at all about this music video, what I want to talk about more than anything is how memes make money. We make a situation into a meme without ever really taking into consideration the person that's attached to it. And that can have severe consequences. There's actually a YouTuber, his name is Quentin Reviews. He released a video several months back that talks about how meme culture started, and he actually uses an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, where the one where he ripped his pants, and uses that to kind of explain meme culture and the cycle of a meme. I'm going to put a link in the description for you to watch that video. I would highly recommend it because what he has to say about meme culture through SpongeBob is very fascinating, and it gives us perspective into Danielle Pregoli's music video. This past weekend was MTV's annual Video Music Awards, and as per usual, if you're not keeping up with pop culture fairly regularly, you're gonna hear a lot of names, you're gonna see a lot of people, you're going to watch a lot of stuff that you have no clue what's going on. Katy Perry hosted it, and she provided a whole bunch of cringeworthy moments. Kendrick Lamar came away as the big winner. I think that that was well deserved. But there's something that I want to talk about. MTV did something very smart. They used their platform to talk about very important issues in our culture today. They talked about racism, they talked about suicide, they talked about all the things that need to be discussed. They used their platform well. What they did not handle well was that balance and that of like using pop culture and politics, like balancing those two together. So what MTV ended up doing was create this dissonance between the two of them. What do I mean by that? During the VMAs, they paid tribute to Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell, who had passed away earlier this year. And in the middle of their tribute, these two prominent people that had a huge impact on pop culture, in the middle of it, they go to commercial. Like, who does that? If you're going to talk about a sad death, then don't interrupt it by going to commercial right in the middle of it. That doesn't make any sense. They even had Heather Hayer's mom, the lady that passed away during the riots in Charlottesville several weeks back. MTV had her come out and give a very heartfelt speech against racism, which is such a great thing that needs to be discussed. But immediately following her speech, they start blaring Selena Gomez's Fetish. So right after this very poignant, very purposeful, very well done speech, they end up creating this tension because it's immediately caught up in pop culture music, which is fine, but it creates the tension for us as an audience. So they didn't handle that well either. It just, in all of it, they even had a presenter come out and attack neo-Nazis, which is a much needed thing. But then they were just like, and neo-Nazis are terrible. By the way, the nominees for Best Pop Music Video are, and so like the whole time MTV had the ability to talk about these very important issues without flubbing it up, but they found a way to flub it up. Logic performed his song 1-800-273-8255, which is a song all about suicide. During his performance, he brought out a whole bunch of suicide survivors and people that struggled with that onto the stage during his performance. It was very heartfelt. The song is entitled after a suicide prevention hotline. So obviously he's not promoting suicide. He's wanting to help people. But then immediately following this great performance by Logic, they go to commercial, and the commercial that they had picked out, the first sentence talks about death. So they have this platform, they have this incredible capability of talking about important issues, but they warp it and they destroy the good things that they should be talking about with inappropriate timing, with the inability to handle this topic, this situation. And so I applaud MTV for taking their platform and using it, but I just want them to give respect to these issues and treat them seriously and not just some flippant thing to talk about, because they have real consequences if you handle them poorly, and I think that they did for that night. On Wednesday, a comedian named Elijah Daniel became mayor of the town of Hell, Michigan. He did so after tweeting out, hey, if Donald Trump can become president, I want to become a politician too. He then started Google searching where's the easiest place to become a politician. Hell, Michigan actually has a thing where you can pay $100 and become mayor for a day. And so he went to Hell, Michigan. He paid the $100. He was sworn in as mayor. And the first thing that he did as mayor was make a proclamation saying that all heterosexuals are banned from Hell, Michigan. The proclamation actually kind of mirrors that of Trump's Muslim ban as far as the language and the tone. They all kind of mirror each other very, very close. So I do think that he is making a political statement there. But I think that this is really, really funny. He was shortly impeached immediately following this heterosexual ban. And he took to Twitter saying, hey, I've been relieved of my position as mayor of Hell, Michigan. I've been impeached. Donald Trump, why don't you go next? So again, making a very political statement. But knowing him, he is a comedian first. And knowing his Twitter and his YouTube channel where he's often doing stuff with Christine Sedelko, another prominent YouTuber, Viner, chick, she and him do stuff all the time that's absolutely ridiculous. So if you had told me that Elijah sought out to become a politician, I would go, yeah, that seems about right. If you had told me that he would be impeached for banning heterosexuals, I would go, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense to me. Because I expect this from them. So people are upset. They do feel like there's a double standard at play here. That makes sense to me. I understand that, but I don't think that you should take him very seriously as far as the political statement that he is making. I think that you should take this lightly because it's really funny. He got impeached from his position as a mayor for banning heterosexuals in a town. He actually put a tax on them if they wanted to remain heterosexual and stay in the town of Hell, Michigan. He's a satirist, that is what he does. And so he's taking what's going on in our political world and kind of bringing it down to an extreme level that gets him impeached from his position as mayor. But this is so funny. The only reason I talk about this week is because it's funny, and because if we can't laugh at what's going on in pop culture right now, what do we have to laugh about? So props to you, Elijah. You're super funny. This is absolutely hilarious what you've done, and props to you, man. Something that I'm hoping to do on a more week-to-week basis is I want to talk about a news article that sounds very, very fake, but is in fact a very, very real story. And this segment is going to be called Not the Onion being a satirist news source where all of the news is very fake. But in this case, it's very real. Our first article is entitled, Joel Osteen says he didn't open his church for shelter from Harvey because nobody asked him to. And this sounds like a very fake article. It's the same excuse that a child gives for their reason as to why they hadn't cleaned their bedroom, but in fact it is a very real story. This is the excuse that he gave. It is pathetic, and I want to talk about it. Joel Osteen is a pastor of a megachurch in Houston. It's the Lakewood Church there. It can seat around 17,000 people. And up until earlier this week, he had not opened his doors at all. There was nobody that was sitting inside of that church taking shelter. So there were tens of thousands of displaced Houstonians that have no place to go, and there's a facility that can house thousands of them, and they did absolutely nothing. And Joel Osteen came under criticism, harsh criticism for this. He was the #1 trending topic in the United States earlier this week. All of them saying negative things as to why he had not opened his church's doors. He had released a statement, the church had released a statement earlier this week saying, like, our church is flooding right now. People went and took videos, and that was just not the case. Maybe in their parking garage. But let's be real, a lot of these displaced people don't have their vehicles anyway, so I don't really see how that was a big deal. To put this into a different perspective, I think that our culture doesn't fully understand what the definition of a church is. You see, when we think of the church, we think of one location, or the place where we all come together on Sundays or even Wednesday nights to have worship. And to some extent, that's 100% true. But when Scripture talks about the church, it's often represented as a gathering of people. It doesn't have to be in one specific location. It can be anywhere. So whenever Scripture talks about the church, it uses the Greek word ekklesia, literally meaning a gathering of people. But the early church, they didn't have a physical location that they went to every single week. They would often meet in their homes. They would meet in the markets. They would meet all over the place, but it was rarely one specific location. And the reason why that's important is because I saw a lot of Twitter responses saying that Lakewood Church is not a place of shelter, it's a place of worship. And to that extent, I say that that's wrong, because you can worship anywhere. But in times of need, like now, when there are thousands of people displaced by a hurricane, whenever you have something like this, and you have the facilities to house people, you need to do that. And I totally get it. Joel Osteen was being precautious as far as making sure that the flooding wasn't going to damage the building in any way structurally. I get that, as far as that being an excuse or a reason as to why you couldn't house people. But at a certain point, the church needs to be proactive in helping the community rather than reacting to a bad PR situation. And I think that that's what's happened. Joel Osteen is having to be reactive because he didn't open his doors to the community, to the church. He didn't do that. And because of that, he's having to react rather than proactively sharing the love of Christ with other people by housing people, by sheltering people. And because of that, I think that Joel Osteen is rightfully under criticism. I think that he should be under criticism, and people need to really, really start evaluating how he views Christianity and how he's actually living it out. To finish this week on a positive note, I want to go back to the VMAs that we talked about earlier, and I actually want to talk about this speech that the recipient of the VMA Video Vanguard Award gave. The winner or the recipient of the Video Vanguard Award this year was the artist Pink, and she performed several times throughout the night, but during her speech, she talked specifically to her daughter and about her daughter, and how her daughter always talks about how she is the ugliest girl that she knows. She looks more like a boy than a girl, and how torn up she is by that. And what Pink had to say about that is something that I want to end on, because I think it's that important. Well, she actually said, "We don't change. We take the gravel and the shell and we make a pearl. And we help other people to change so that they can see more kinds of beauty." This is really, really resonant with where our culture is at. We're constantly being criticized by how we look, who we interact with, what our social media posts, how much interaction they're getting. We're constantly being criticized for stuff like that. But you take that criticism, you take that negativity that's so prominent in our culture, you take that and you make a pearl out of it. You make the best of a bad situation or a bad comment or a bad way that you feel that you look, and you make the best of it and you rock it. And so I'm so glad that Pink said that. If you are having a rough time right now, I want you guys to take that gravel, take that shell, and make something beautiful out of it. Impact somebody in a really great way. I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend. I will see you again next Friday. If you like this video, make sure that you like and subscribe. If you disagreed with me on anything, please leave a comment down below. I would love to have a conversation with you and get just to hear your thoughts, if nothing else. So have a great weekend, and I will see you all next Friday.